Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the ProThird YouTube channel. My name is Danny Corporate. I'm the CEO and founder of ProThird, and we're a marketing agency that likes to help companies grow. In today's video, we are going to walk through the 4 steps that will help you determine exactly how much to allocate to your marketing plan. Now, the principle we'll be using today is going to be an ROI-based allocation principle. Now, all this does is it helps you identify how much money you can allocate without jeopardizing your operations. Because from our perspective and from our experience, a lot of the anxiousness, the anxiety on deciding how much to allocate to a marketing plan comes from the fear of over allocating, right? Nobody wants to decide on a number to put towards their budget and then 3, 6, 9 months later realize they're overspending. And that's what an ROI-based allocation plan is great for. It considers things like your overhead, your patient lifetime value, and your cash flow on your operations to help determine a number that you can spend safely in relation to your operations. Okay, so let's jump to it. Again, there's going to be 4 steps here, and they're fairly simple, so we'll try to make this quick. The first step is you want to decide on the financial goal that you want your marketing to achieve. So whatever that number is, go ahead and write that down. On the example that we're going to use today, we're going to say our financial goal is $1 million. So go ahead and write that down, put it in Excel, whatever you want. Now, the second step we're going to do is we're going to determine your patient lifetime value. Now, all your patient lifetime value is the amount of money your practice will make on a patient during the lifetime of that patient with your practice. And to get to this number is pretty simple. You want to first identify what your average appointment value is. You're going to take that number and you're going to multiply that by the average number of visits you get per patient per year. Then you're going to take that number and multiply it by the average number of years your patients are with your practice. Okay, so for this example, we're going to say that our average appointment value is $1,000. And then we're going to say on average, a patient sees us about 2.5 times a year. And on average, each patient stays with our practice for about 2 years. Okay. Together, that gives us a $5,000 patient lifetime value. That is the money that your practice can expect to make over the course of a patient's time with our practice. Okay. Now that we have our patient lifetime value, the third step we want to do is we want to remove overhead from our patient lifetime value. And the reason why we do this is because, yes, you might make $5,000 over the lifetime of that patient, but we also know that the money that's coming in, not all of it gets to be reinvested to grow the company. There's typically a good chunk, right, your overhead, that has to go back into maintaining the operations. So that's what we're going to do here. This is a critical step. This is what a lot of people forget to do when determining an allocation for their marketing plan. All right. So in this example, we're going to say that this practice runs on an overhead of about 60%. So that means we're going to take our patient lifetime value number and reduce it by 60%. That will leave us with a net patient lifetime value of $2,000. This is communicating to your allocation budget that $2,000 of the $5,000 you expect to get from your patient are monies that you can reinvest back into marketing or other growth plans that you might have for your practice. Now, the fourth step is to find out how much to allocate based on the numbers that we just identified. Now, I'm going to give you 2 options here. I'm going to give you the flat allocation method, and I'm going to give you the cash flow allocation method. The flat allocation method is going to be better for practices that have a longer runway. This is going to be a practice that isn't dependent on the money coming back in at a certain period of time in order to execute the marketing plan. So unless you have a pretty long runway when it comes to your budget, the flat option might not be ideal for you. The second one we're going to give you is going to be the cash flow allocation method. Now, the cash flow allocation method will consider how much runway your practice has before it needs to see returns from the marketing in order to sustain its operations. Okay, so that's going to be better for practices who don't have as long of a runway. Okay, so for the flat allocation method, it's pretty simple. The first thing we want to do is we're going to go ahead and take your financial goal. In this case, it was $1 million. We're going to divide it by our patient lifetime value, our overall patient lifetime value, which in this example was $5,000. What this is telling us is that we need 200 patients at a patient lifetime value of $5,000 to reach our financial goal of $1 million. Okay. So now we know our marketing plan has to yield us at least 200 patients in order to reach our financial goal. Okay. Now that we know we need to get 200 patients, how much can we spend? Right. This is where a lot of people don't know where to go. Well, this is where we're going to take our patient lifetime value number of $2,000. And the reason why we're doing this is because we know each patient brings us $5,000, right? And $3,000 of that has to go directly to maintaining costs, maintaining overhead. So we know theoretically that we have $2,000 as a baseline that we can safely say, hey, this is money that I was planning to either give to myself, right? Or ideally really put back into the business to grow. So we'll take that net patient lifetime value number of $2,000, multiply it by 200 patients, and boom, $400,000 is the max, absolute max budget your practice should spend in a scenario like this. Any spend above this is going to put your operations at risk because you're now starting to eat into your overhead. Okay, so now that you have this max allocation number, this does not necessarily mean this is how much you should spend, right? There are going to be other things that are going to help determine what your final budget is. You know, things like profitability, things like customer acquisition costs, you know, those types of things. But this method, this ROI-based allocation method, is a great way for you to determine how much you can allocate to your marketing plan without eating into overhead costs. All right, so now the second one, the cash flow based allocation method. So this is going to be for somebody who doesn't have unlimited runway or a long runway when it comes to their finances. They're going to be reliant on, the practice is going to be reliant on getting that money back within a certain time period in order to sustain the marketing strategy. All right, so it's going to be very similar to the flat allocation method with some slight tweaks. First thing we're going to do, we'll take the financial goal divided by the patient lifetime value. And again, we're reminded we need 200 patients to reach that $1 million goal. Now, instead of just multiplying by the net patient lifetime value, we're going to do something a little bit different. Okay. First, let's determine how much runway we actually have. Okay. So in this example, we're going to say that the practice has about 8 months of runway that it can allocate towards its marketing plan before it starts to need to see revenues come back in to sustain its operations. All right. Now we're also going to say that on average, it takes them about 2 months before they start seeing the revenue come in, from whatever billing management system that they're running. So in reality, that leaves us about 6 months of actual runway before we need to start seeing money come back from our marketing spend. All right. So how we're going to account for that in the allocation is we're going to reduce our net patient lifetime value by the number of months we have as a runway. If you remember our patient lifetime value calculation, you'll remember that our patients stay with us for about 24 months on average. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that net patient lifetime value of $2,000, divide it by the average time in months our patient stays with our practice. In this case, it's 24. That means that we make on average about $83 per month on a patient. Okay. So with 6 months of runway, we're going to take that $83, multiply it by 6 months, and that equals to about $500. So now our net patient lifetime value went from $2,000 to $500. Okay. So what this reduction from $2,000 to $500 in net patient lifetime value is showing you is the amount of revenue you expect to collect over that 6 month runway that you have which is going to be about $500 out of the $2,000 we expect to collect over their entire lifetime. All right, now we're going to finish off the allocation. We'll take that $500, multiply it by the number of patients we need to acquire in order to reach our financial goal, and boom. Now the max money you can allocate drops from $400,000 to $100,000. Now the method that we just went through is a great way to determine how much you can allocate towards your marketing plan. But there are other things to consider. Things like profitability. How profitable do you want your acquisition of new customers to be in your marketing plan? Are there future goals that you need, right? Is the payment cycle longer than your runway? If it is, you're going to be in a tight place if you need returns from your marketing in order to run your marketing plan, right? So don't take these max allocations as, hey, go ahead and spend this. Use this as a roadmap, as a starting point on how much you can allocate, right? This is probably one of the safest blueprints you can use when determining how much to allocate to your marketing plan without spending into your overhead. I hope that was helpful. And if there's anything you guys want to see in the next video, or if you have any questions or even suggestions or ideas on how you were able to allocate while reducing risk, please drop them in the comments. If this video was helpful, please give us a like. The more you like this video, then it will be easier for somebody else to find if they are looking for help in figuring out their marketing allocation. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next one. Peace.